Girl, hey, how you doing? Why does Instagram hate us, Jazz? Why though?
Instagram don't F with you at all.
Nah, honey, if you gonna have to figure something out, I need to get these good Zoom bucks in. But anyway, tell me more. Love that. Lula is so interesting to me.
Is um, from what I gather and from what the poet laureate told me, she's young, 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 young. And first talk about in the beginning when she's talking about NASA and how he refers to everyone as one. And that reminds me of why are Black girls always seen as these grown beings at the youngest ages ever. I really want to piece that together because I don't get the psyche for it. A girl is a
Mm.
girl is a girl, and why we are seen that way. It's disturbing.
Do you feel like it's self-serving to make the other person's conscience feel a little better?
Yes. Like if we want to go back, it goes back to sexualizing everything that all, even from a young age. It's so disturbing. And it's still prevalent to this day. We'll see issues happen in classrooms and preschools, and they're just treated so differently, like they're a third. I hate that. It's one of the things
Mm.
most about being just because
But I think, go ahead.
you're not even giving our little girls a chance to enjoy their childhood. You already have so guarding around them against other men, against extremely.
Right. And I think that, I don't know if you heard me earlier, but I live by a hospital, so that's why all this is happening. Um, and they also, all of there's bike riders that went all the way down like Sheepshead Bay on Avenue X for like a while, just chanting Black Lives Matter. And it was crazy.
Um,
And everybody's doing their thing, right? On Juneteenth that we all found about yesterday. But anyway,
I was like, go off, little kings. I'm not even mad today. Not
it was crazy. It was organized though. It was like miles I'm talking about. Like, and the police were behind them to basically escort them through the thing. Um, the organizing apparently. But I find it so interesting if we're going to talk about language. Um, how we can call all of these, no matter how old they are, women to justify sexualizing them, but then call all of them girl to justify demeaning them.
mm,
You know, it's the same thing when we're talking about like, oh, how they will call a black man boy no matter how old he is.
yeah.
I want to say the black men I grew up, that wouldn't happen, but you know, they were of their time enough for me to know that that's not true.
Right.
That they would do what they got to do to survive. Um, wow.
Also, hmm,
Go ahead, go ahead.
I also want to talk about Lula's having this issue in the beginning of the poem. She's like,
Yes.
am I a slave or am I a woman? And that's
Mm,
to today when people are like, are you black first or are you a woman first? And it's just this
mm,
dichotomy they keep trying to push on us like they're separate things. I'm both, first and foremost.
right.
And be, because misogyny is a large thing. So I can't just choose to be black and not be a woman. And feminism, well, the lack of feminism is not, feminism isn't really inclusive as much as we want to be to
Right.
black women. When you think of feminism, I think of like the 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 vote, the Voting Rights Act for women
Suffrage,
and
yeah.
by women people. I mean, white women. And there's a lot of other smaller movements, even today, with all the books and all the press and all of the speak outs at award shows. They're not really including Black women in there. So I have to be a Black woman first because the white world is looking at me in a certain way, and the men of every world are looking at me in a certain way. And I hate when
Yeah.
try to separate that.
Right. So for you, is it that you're both at the same time, or do you feel like there's one that's more prevalent than the other?
I'm both at the same time. I am a Black woman, hyphenated, smashed together. Like,
Yeah.
first, I'm not gonna say I'm. Of course, I'm rooting for all my Black people, and of course, I'm rooting for women, Black women. I can't
Right.
really separate. I can't separate the two because even if I chose to, separate the two side parties are not going to see as such. All the
Right.
women are like, yeah, girl, come in and get in on these prizes, and we can talk about Black women and Black men a whole nother day. I got it first, but like I'm just looking out for me, a Black
Right.
woman, other people like me, Black
Right.
women.
Right. I think that this time is so interesting for me for not only being Black, a woman, but also being queer and mask identified. It's such an interesting time because everything is happening with this is what's happening to Black people. This is what's happening to a Black woman. This is what happened to specifically trans people. And all of those things I can connect with, right? So it's hard for some people feel like they have to pick a battle, but for me, it's hard to figure out something that's so all inclusive, right? And it's funny you say what you said about am I Black or a woman first? I was at a bar and I was talking to an older Black man, and we got into a debate because I love to debate, and basically he was just like, well, basically like what's more important, like being a Black person should be more important to me, right? And he says I was pushing back, and he tried to, make this like a level playing field. He knew what he wanted me to answer, and he said, when you walk down the street, what do people see first, right? They see that you're Black. And I said, not necessarily. Because depending on who's looking, they may be more interested in that I'm Black or more interested in that I'm a woman, right? And he didn't understand that. And I was like, you won't understand that because you're a Black man. When you walk down the street, you don't have to think about your gender. You don't think about people staring at you because you're a man. You're thinking, if they're staring at me, it's because I'm Black, right? Because he doesn't have to think about that. But I say this all the time, I might put this into my writing, but God forbid something happened to me or somebody like me, unless we were to interview or talk to the person who, attacks me, I won't know for sure, unless they're saying it while they're attacking me, I won't know for sure if they attack because I'm Black, because I'm a woman, because I'm queer, because I'm mask identified. I won't know because all of those things are under scrutiny. So I think that's such an interesting thing of like, ain't I a woman? And separating that, like almost as if I can't be a slave if I'm a woman. Like, am I a slave or am I a woman? As if it's one or the other. And I think that's very interesting.
She was that for half of this poem, and in it, Minerva doesn't even really know how to answer her. And then she's like, "Am I a thing?" Because that is exactly what Black women act as still to this day for the longest time. And during this uprising that we're going through now, it is frightening and disturbing that when you bring up the subsidiaries of Black lives, some people get in arms. Like, okay, we're not talking about that now, but we're Black and our Black lives matter. Black trans women. Whoa. Trying to great tweet up on her for forever. It's like, we don't raise the Black power fist to misogynists, pedophiles, anti-fems. Like, we don't do that. I'm not just going to give a pass to every Black person. How are you adapting the same mentality of the All Lives Matter group?
Right.
If Black Lives Matter, that's it. Period. And I'm
Right.
always talking to Black women. The other day, they were like, this isn't the time to divide the community.
Well, let's talk about that, Jazz. Let's talk about that, because historically, and I was actually talking to my mentor about this the other day, and she happens to be a Greek woman, right? So however anybody wants to take that, right? Because I'm not gonna just whatever. She happens to be first generation American, but her parents are from Greece. And I talked to her and I told her that mentality isn't necessarily wrong, but where does that come from, right? Historically, there's very few spurts of moments, but let's talk about the civil rights movement, right? A lot of women, one, were kind of raised up to say, you're a Black first, then a woman, right? But when it came to the civil rights movement, it was always like, let's put the men in the forefront and we'll get to y'all. We'll get to y'all. And then they didn't. So then it became women's movements, feminist movements, waves of feminism. And then it's like, let's put women first and we'll get to y'all. Like, we'll get to Black women, we'll get to lesbians, we'll get to whatever. And one of the things that really surprised me is the way stories can be told, right? So let's talk about Rodney King. Horrible thing that happened, right? But I should have actually looked it up and got her name, but specifically not knowing her name is my point. Around that time when all of the LA riots were happening, there was also the young lady, I think she was like 14, if not younger, who was shot in, the convenience store. Do you know the story?
Oh, yeah. I was like, where are you going with this? I do remember that. And I don't know her name.
Right. And it's like, the only reason I even connected with that, not saying it's not horrible, but the only reason I was able to connect something to that was because of don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. And let's bring another level into this, as a person who is of Chinese descent and or Vietnamese descent, I found that so interesting to be Black, but also understand the dynamics between the Asian or Chinese community to the Black community. That sometimes in those things, yeah, Sandra Bland was brought up and stuff like that, but there's so many times that if you ever go back to the Trayvon Martins and the George Floyds and the Mike Browns, there's always also like women and trans people also happening, but it's never national, it's never the big thing, right? So there's something to say about how our voices are not.
It goes back to Joe Abandon, keeping her entire family together, and then Jack decides to leave because he just can't take it anymore.
Right.
Did he think that Joe enjoyed being a slave? Did he not want his children to have some of that freedom as well? And
no.
I'm supposed to just handle all of this and keep being
just because it's harder for me. It's harder for me. Come on, I'm the Black man. And I'm not saying it wasn't harder, but that's the mindset. That's the mindset. And let me jump in here. So I'm gonna say this disclaimer because I don't want to take up too much of your time. If anybody can look up Women of Plums, I think one of the more prominent pieces is Hattie on the Block, right? But I'm not going to go into Hattie on the Block today because I do want to get to a point which people kind of miss as well. And I'm going to go into Vera. And I only point out certain parts with Vera because it's so interesting to me. When I say I really wanted this piece, Jazz, when I first did this, but I think, do you remember Sean?
Yeah.
Okay, so Sean did it when I did it the first time. You remember? Girl, I was like, but it's okay, you know, you gotta play your role.
Mm-hmm.
But in Vera in Trouble, this is such a layered piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna do the first two verses here. And it says, might as well face it. Go down the stairs, smile a little, do a bugger dance, act as if nothing happened, indulge myself secretly, welcoming Vera as a good person. Watched my Solomon do a buck and wing one day, and just to stop them cutting off his forefinger, because he tried to learn to read. They all laughed so much they forgot his hungry fingers, only remembered his feasting legs. What do you think of that? Yeah, go ahead. You can start up.
You know, Sean is so talented.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So much. There's so many transitions in just that stanza that you read. And it's like a pile-on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think this is just how Dolores writes also. But that pile-on, and it just gets so visceral. It's so
visual. Yes. Yes. Feasting legs. Okay. I think that this idea of, what do they call it? I forgot what they call it in magic, but it's when you misdirect. This idea of misdirection. And that was what it was. That was what not what the cakewalk was, but that's what it was. You did the little thing Master wanted you to do while you get your son off the block from the whipping post. You know, this is what you do. If you ever get the chance to connect with Cleavon, he has a beautiful piece. I think he wrote it about this little boy where he tells, or is it in this? I think it was Cleavon, but it was like this little boy and his mother said, keep dancing, to the point where he's dead. To the point where he's dead. And this idea of like it's the pile-on because she's moving so fast in her thought because she's making a plan to, you know, not get in trouble. And she's just like, I saw my Solomon do this, so I'm gonna do this, and then that's it. Ooh, yeah. And I find it makes me feel a little disturbed because I feel it so close to it because of my own upbringing of I'm in trouble, so I'm gonna watch this show with this person so we can laugh again, so I'm not in trouble anymore. You know, it's the way parenting is or disciplining is in the Black culture or the Caribbean culture. And you got to just slide in. Like you still have the tears, the salt is still dry on your face, but you're pretending. So, I mean, what do you think of Vera?
This was reminding me of being in the workplace as well.
Mm.
That on, and you have to make those really, really quick decisions just to make sure that you're not on the chopping.
Mm-hmm.
Happen that maybe you are. It's just like a constant state of fear of offending anybody, and there goes your job. And I think Vera is sharp. I think she is willing to do what she has to do. And I'm gonna say
it's okay. Let me give you this last line here she got. They forget, wait, they like my my chili chants, call them nigga music. Then they grabs their haunts out their stomachs and go chattering to dinner. They forget all about me. That be good forgetting.
That'd be good forgetting. She's a survivor. She's a survivor. Close to the danger. That's a different type of.
You think she I guess likes it?
You know, she does sound playful, but I had the same question before. She sounds playful, like a fox, like, oh, I'm gonna do this, but even though it's really dangerous and I can die, I just want to try it anyway. And I don't know if she's playing us as well.
Mm.
I don't know if this is just the way she's adapted to life and put up this guard because that's what she has to do.
Wow. Playing us too.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, do you have any final words? Anything you want to connect with? Thank you so much for jumping on here by request. I know I randomly text you like, this is what I think we should do. We should do this.
These were beautiful pieces. I hope that people read them because they're so profound, and I forgot how profound they are, and just so relatable to today. But
yeah,
you,
isn't that unfortunate? Who did? I have a random question. Do you remember who you did when we did our speeches for Ruffin? Speeches. So last week I did My Dungeon Shook by James Baldwin, which we did in class.
I did Lupita. I did her Oscar.
You did Lupita. Yes.
Her Oscar. And I was like, quite a Minestra. That's totally different class. Yeah.
Oh my god. Lupita, yes.
About that often, how I wanted to do a different one, but maybe it's just because I couldn't tap into that one at the time.
Why did you want to do a different one? Which different one?
I don't know which one I wanted to do, but that one spoke out to me because I feel like she was ever so lightly touching on colors in her speech, and that was just something really important for me to connect to there. I even used colorism as that last little senior showcase.
Yeah.
But he wanted us to not perform them but as like words from the heart. Yeah, I was young. I was young.
Yeah, I only remember me and Earl's. Earl did Marcus Garvey.
He did do Marcus Garvey. I'm pretty sure I can remember. I sit in silence for a bit. But
I keep thinking about who Faith did, because I know she did a woman, but it was interesting for me.
Did she do an activist?
Probably, but I can't remember who.
I feel like she did do an activist.
Don't quote you. I'm just happy I did James Baldwin and then I was able to do it again. It was so I connected with it because I have nieces and I know what it's like to want to give them a word of, I understand your frustrations, but let me weave you a story of I've been here with you the whole time. So I think I needed that relief. But tell me, what are you working on now? What are you looking to do? Why? All those things.
I am just a little brown actor girl sending a self-tape. I thought I'd try my hand. Don't quote me because never was my talent. Maybe
Speak it.
Summer. I'll just try it. I never thought I was a strong writer. That's why I struggled during senior year when we had to write everything. I was like, this is not my ministry. Why are you guys making me do this? But just trying to look to get into. Alexa's reminding me to do something.
I love it. Do it.
On my new plant, baby. Alexa, stop. And I just want to find a project to get into this summer since we're still on quarantine. I forgot coronavirus is still there.
Wait, so with your writing, what do you want to write about? In the most vaguest sense, if you.
In the vaguest sense, if you're gonna quote me on this and then check up on me later, I swear we're gonna fight.
You gotta speak it. You gotta speak it because we're gonna come back and I'm gonna be like, remember that time? Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna say nothing.
I think I wrote 3 sentences a few weeks ago, read it for like 10 minutes and deleted the whole thing. And I was like, why am I?
You're supposed to write it and then walk away, Jazz.
Because let me tell you, I was like, what in the Sondheim musical is this? All right.
It's gonna come together. Don't worry about it. But thank you so much. I'm glad that you're doing the writing. I'm glad you're doing the self-tape. It's actually funny. Writing and self-tape are the 2 classes I'm taking with the Atlantic Acting School right now. The self-scripting and the self-taping.
Mm-hmm. How's that?
Huh?
How's that?
It's going well. I think the biggest thing I'm learning right now is to trust that I know what I'm doing. Even if I haven't actually done this before, like I've never done self-tapes and stuff, I have to trust that the experiences I've had in life allow me to do this new thing, that it's not really anything's new under the sun, you know? So I have to trust that I know how to act, and I know how to analyze, and I know how to put a tape that shows my face, and it's not that difficult.
Yeah.
Not that difficult. But yeah, thank you so much. Hopefully you'll tune into future ones. I think I'm gonna do other series of more stuff. People tell me to keep doing it, so I'm like, okay.
I want you to do so much
Okay.
more.
Ooh. But thank you so much, Jazz. Hopefully I'll see. Are you in New York?
Yeah.
Fake. Anyway.
On the corner.
That was so random, but we should when everything's working out, everybody that's in New York, we really should do like something, even if it's just like connecting, you know. I haven't seen a lot of Howard people since I've been back for the past 2 years, so. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Jazz, for coming, and hopefully I'll see. I'm over here doing it on my laptop when I'm on my phone. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the future. Okay. Thank you, Jazz.